Talk to Niamh Smith.
Thank you, Cathaoirleach. Minister, community policing, presence of community Gardaí, drug divisional units, all so important in terms of these are the people with their finger on the pulse in terms of where a community is at, where information can be got. And tonight I'd specifically like to talk to you about the Divisional Drug Unit for Cavan, Monaghan, which is doing terrific work in terms of, I suppose, the importance of where we're at as a community and as a society. Unfortunately, Minister, as you well know, recreational drugs are more prevalent, they're more readily available, and unfortunately becoming more socially acceptable. Now, the Drugs Division Unit in Cavan Monaghan is something that unfortunately we need more of. We may need more resources put into it. And it is doing terrific work. Not that long ago, Bailieborough Community Alert held a community public meeting, if you like, about this very topic. And the number of people who attended, the experience that they've had, and I suppose their opportunity to speak with the Gardaí who are at the forefront of this. Detective Sgt Michael Carney spoke that night and gave a very, I suppose, stark presentation in terms of how freely and readily available these drugs are, and in settings that we might ordinarily expect, not just within our community, within, I suppose, recreational settings and sporting settings. And that, I think, came as a shock to some of the people who attended that meeting. But as I said, specifically about Cavan Monaghan, the Drug Divisional Unit there, it covers a huge area. It's covering 2 counties. It's situated itself in an old Garda station in Cootehill. And currently, and for the last 9 months, it's working with reduced staffing numbers, 1 sergeant and 3 Gardaí. I suppose that has been due to replacements, retirements, people moving on, transfers and all that. But unfortunately, the replacements that should be made, it should actually be with 1 sergeant and 5 Gardaí. So they're working on a drastically reduced number of staff. For example, our traffic court unit, it has 3 sergeants and 13 Gardaí. You know, when you make that comparison against the drugs unit, you would say it's fairly stark and obviously dramatically reduced in terms of where it should be at. We know that the drug driving detection has significantly increased, and I would say to 106%, particularly since lockdown. I suppose there are 2 reasons for that. Number one, Gardaí are more visible, they're more on the beat, they're more, I suppose, having greater opportunity to do this type of detection, and it's working, and it's making, I suppose, drivers and users more aware of that. And unfortunately, as I said, with a percentage like 106% detection rate, that tells its own story. I would make the request to you here, Minister, today to look at this particular unit, to give it the staffing that it needs. We know that drug detection, or drug units rather, that they really should have 2 sergeants and 10 Gardaí. Cavan Monaghan is currently working with 1 sergeant and 3 Gardaí. So there's bigger inroads to be made there in terms of the staffing that's required and the expertise that is needed there. They are working, as I said, from an old Garda station in Cootehill. They could do with better facilities, and they could also do with better transport. So, Minister, with the time that is left to me, I would make one final plea to you, and that is about the staff who are working there. As I said, they're doing terrific work. My understanding is that both the Detective Sgt and the Gardaí are interviewed every 2 years, so it's only a 2-year contract that they have. And we need to give out as a government a very strong message that our Divisional Drugs Unit is there, it is there in force, it is fully staffed, it is fully resourced, and that those staff are there permanently. Not on a 2-year basis, not something that's temporary, not something that's transient, something that is there, is to do a very important job, a very specific job, and it needs to be resourced reflective of that. Thank you, Minister.